Hello and welcome to the Community Roundup, brought to you by Brad's Furniture and Appliances. We are here at the Fort St. John Community Garden, run by the North Peace Community Garden Society, and I'm joined today by Amanda, a member of the Society's board. How are you doing today, Amanda?
I'm good. I'm enjoying the nice, clear skies.
Absolutely. It's lovely weather to get out in the garden and just enjoy it.
Yes.
All right. So can you tell me a little bit about the history of the Society, the garden, just, give us a little background.
Sure. So the community garden is currently on land owned by the Catholic Church, and it used to be managed by NEAT, which isn't an organization anymore. So last year, the Horticultural Society took it over temporarily, I guess. And even though they had a late start in June, they were able to get some beds rented out, and then we had community beds as well. But they are an older society and they just didn't have the capacity to keep running it long term. But there were a few of us who started to get involved with the community garden and basically didn't want it to die. So we were like, okay, let's create a society and keep the garden going. Mm-hmm. So long term, we know that a society is better in order to get grants and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But we also need land. So we only became a society in February. We officially had the paperwork done. And so now we are trying to make the best of the current garden mm-hmm. in hopes to get, to just keep developing it for the city and make it even better.
Okay. And it's in a partnership with the city. So you hold events and such with them and also as a society on your own. Is that correct?
Most events we've kind of put out by ourselves, but we have worked with the city. They provide our water for us. Mm-hmm. We've done a few community meetups last year and this year just to get engagement from the community to see what they would like to see in a garden so that we can better develop it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're actually looking for a new location, which brought you in front of the council this Monday. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. So we spent the fall kind of dreaming about all the things we could do in this current space. And some of our board members went to meet with the pastor of the Catholic Church because this is the church's land, and we found out that they were going to sell it. And so he said, you get to grow there this year. I wasn't part of that meeting, but basically mm-hmm. we can grow here this summer, but we needed to find a new location. So it kind of put a stop on all of our big dreams about a gazebo and this mm-hmm. and that. And we just kind of rented out what we could. And we presented to the city at the meeting on Monday mm-hmm. to ask if they would work with us to try to find new land within city limits. Mm-hmm. Because the thing about a temporary space is that we can't, we can't really establish fruit trees mm-hmm. because fruit trees take time. But then, if we can potentially be moving every 5 years, which has been the history of the community garden, it has been in the lot beside us where the apartment was, it has been mm-hmm. at the college. So all of those different places haven't been truly permanent. And I'm not exactly sure mm-hmm. how long they've been in those different spots, but we'd love to be able to do fruit trees that can be planted once and then, the maintenance will be minimal as the years go by. Mm-hmm. And other things too, like rhubarb, berries, asparagus is a perennial. So those types of things take time to establish. You can't regrow them every year. Mm-hmm. At least definitely not easily.
Yeah, especially if there are ways to grow, say, fruit trees and berries in massive containers, but they don't thrive as well, and it's not good for the soil.
They need a good root system. So obviously the ability to go deep in the ground is what you want.
Yes, especially with trees. That usually does help them stay up.
Yeah.
And what are some of the things that you'd need or would be looking for in a location, such as a pressurized water requirement? What are some things that would make or break if you had a choice of a plot in the city that you would be looking for?
Yeah, so we definitely would really like pressurized water. Right now, we just get a tank filled and it's gravity fed. So when the water pressure, right now, I just had to remember to email the city again and ask, because once it hits 2.5 feet, it's mm-hmm. So much slower. So right now we have rented beds, but we have community beds. And so our board waters most of the community beds. And mm-hmm. on a good day, it can take me 2 hours.
Wow.
So when the water gets super low, it definitely makes it difficult. So ideally we would have water. Mm-hmm. We would love for it to be fenced in. And I think we can take this fence when we go, but mm-hmm. we're not entirely sure. We have to clarify that. Mm-hmm. bathrooms would be really nice, or at least close ones. So say we were close to a city park, more city parks are getting bathrooms, so that would be really handy. When we have big work bees and we want to be here all day working in the garden, it does become difficult because we have to like leave if we need to use the washroom. So when we're trying to hydrate and then we have to leave every time, it does make it slows us down a little bit. And then power would be a bonus, but you know, lawnmowers and stuff are still operated by gas. So, but it would definitely help with some like project type things that we have in mind.
Certainly. And is there a preference for downtown, a little more rural, close to the like limits? What would be location wise, geographically?
Geographically, we would like to be where there's a city bus route. Being right in the downtown core is nice because then even people that don't take the bus can easily just walk, and it's pretty to look at. We are very passionate about being able to provide food for the community, but also we miss having other city spaces have previously had more flowers and shrubs that are really nice for taking pictures, and we've lost that a little bit, I think, in some of the areas of the city, and so we really like it to also look beautiful. And so just where it can be visually seen by people just driving by as well, I think is definitely at the top of the list. Of course, further out of the downtown core would also be wonderful space, but you know, further out then the buses can't access as much. So people who like need the food more readily can't access it as easily.
No, that makes
further, I think.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, especially if you've got family and you have kids. I mean, it's lovely to have kids in the garden, and it's a little more of a challenge, I think, wrangling a family of littles into a car to then go to the community garden, especially if it's ideally it should be as accessible as like a community park.
Yes, that's what we would say as a board. That's what we think.
Wonderful. And you mentioned that you're run by a lot of volunteers. What kind of events or volunteer opportunities are going on in September? And what's going on at the garden next month?
Right. So we have been doing yoga in the park once a month. We have another one this September 19th. I believe that's a Wednesday.
I think
maybe
it's
a Thursday. But September 19th anyways. So that's normally in the front of the garden where we have open space. We have a yoga instructor that is willing, it's by donation. So I believe the funds just come right back to our garden for future projects. Also, every week we have Moist Monday and Weed and Water Wednesday. So both of those just start at 7 p.m. because that's when most of our board is available. And we're not always here, but if it's sunny and hot and things need to be watered, those are when we try to get it done. And it's a great chance even just to come look at the garden or talk with us. We normally have at least one of us here if we end up all being busy. But sometimes you can see us on Saturdays as well working, but those are more unofficial times. It's just normally when we have availability to come do the things that we're passionate about.
Absolutely. And for volunteers, especially for Weed and Water Wednesday or Moist Monday, anyone can just kind of show up and add their hands to the lot?
Totally, yeah. So, we do like to have some weekend waterers too. If I've been so busy, sometimes I forget to schedule people, but it's really nice. Like the board has put in a lot of the hours, and so it's nice when we can get a little break and we know that all the plants aren't going to die. So if anybody wants to water on a Saturday or a Friday, just send us a message on Facebook and we would be happy to let you water for us.
Oh, wonderful. And before we wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to mention, talk about, any events or anything you wanted to say?
I think that just about covers it. We are working on building up our volunteer list. So even if you can't volunteer in the next couple weeks, I'm sure we will need to set a date to harvest potatoes, things like that. Right now, I currently do most of the harvesting. Things are just really starting to be ready to eat. So I've been taking it to the Seniors Housing Society and the Seniors Hall. But yeah, you can get on the list even just for next year to be able to help and that kind of thing.
Well, wonderful. Thank you very much, Amanda. I really appreciate and showing me all of this. It's wonderful. All right, thank you for watching. That was the Community Roundup brought to you by Brad's Furniture and Appliances.